Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited for this conversation, and I want to tell listeners and viewers a little bit about you. You're the founder of Your Biz Rules, and you're a business strategist with over 17 years of experience, and you're the author of the book First This, Then That, and the upcoming book Scaling Rich. And you have a holistic approach that helps businesses achieve predictable profits and sustainable growth, all while maintaining a balanced quality of life. And I love that mission because that's exactly what we try to do here on the podcast. We're not moms or entrepreneurs in a vacuum. We have
Nope.
to look at things holistically. So I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Angela. We're going to have a great time sharing a
Yes.
few of those how-to moments, but also, to be honest, I'm going to probably share some of the skin knees and broken elbow stories right along with it.
I love that. We don't do perfection here.
Nope.
I love it when guests are real and share their true experiences, and listeners really connect with that. So let's start at the beginning. How is it that you found yourself in entrepreneurship and you realized that it was for you? And how has motherhood impacted you in growing and shaping your business?
Yeah, so I actually had absolutely no plans to go into business for myself. Shockingly, isn't that entertaining? I called myself an accidental entrepreneur. It's 2007. I was working for a lot of other small businesses and was being let go. And the truth was, and this was usually the story, is Leslie, it's not you, it's me. I don't have the money to pay you. And you're like, okay, what are you going to say to that? So I found on a Wednesday that my last day would be Friday, and I opened up my first business on Monday. So to give some framework to that, my younger son had just turned 1, and my older son was 17 months older. So, what, 2.5? So, I had the itty bits at the
Mhm.
time, and I really saw the business as an opportunity to allow me to be present with them. To be truth, I know the kind of mom that I'm the best at being, and it's not a full stay-at-home mom, but it's also wasn't a full at-work mom. I needed to be doing both to feel fulfilled and to feel like I was using all the mental capacities that I had. So I built the business from there, and it was a wild, wild, wild ride.
Mm-hmm. I love that you share that story because so many women that I talk to feel that instantly being an entrepreneur is not an option because it's going to completely take away all of your time, all of your freedom, everything that you have to give to your family. And I really think that entrepreneurship can actually be that great, if done well, it can be that great in between that gives you that flexibility that you need as a parent. So I love that you share that story. So, one of the things that you focus on is helping clients find that balance, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Or juggle it better or find more harmony. So I would love to hear what that looks like to
Yes.
you and sometimes call that more freedom, quote unquote, because
Mm.
don't we all want that to be able to attend to our families when they need us and be there for the soccer games and dance and all the things. So what does that look like to you?
I'm going to go back to, I used to have podcasts way back when, and I had a guest, actually a gentleman that came on, and we were talking about this concept of balance, right? And we know that if you think of balance as a scale, you're forever going to be running from one end to the next, trying to get balance to come back.
Right.
And he gave the most perfect analogy, and it has guided almost everything I have done since. And I want to share it with you.
Yeah.
So, he says that trying to achieve balance is like trying to be on a surfboard. Now, I have never surfed. I'm actually a total klutz, but I can imagine. He goes, when you're on that surfboard, because he was a surfer, he said, you can't be anywhere else. You can only be on that surfboard because the minute that your mind is somewhere else, you will be in the water. The serpent will fly out from underneath you and you will be in the water. And he goes, so what I have learned is it's not about balance, it's about presence. And you're like, whoa, whoa. Okay, tell me more. He said, well, presence is the ability to be where you are and where you need to be at 110% and not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
That's true freedom.
Mm-hmm.
True freedom is choice. And when you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about building a business that is a freedom making machine, next thing, and half our listeners are going to go, no, not possible. And I am going to say, you have all the freedom you need right now. That just doesn't sound so great when you're like, no, I do not. Like, as the owner of a business, you do, you have choice and you have the ability to be present. Our pleasing side, our perfectionist side, our achieving side can sometimes work in opposition, right? And a lot of that whole view that we have about holistic is about bringing things into alignment. So the business that I have today looks very different than the business I had, what year is it? 11 or 10 years ago when I was still in the thick of kids. My kids are in college. My kids are a sophomore and a junior at two separate colleges in two separate states. I'm in a different season of life. But when they were younger, I will say I intentionally had a smaller business, right? Because I could only be present in so many areas. And one of those was my business. One of those areas was my kid, but we were also giving care for my husband's mother and then father. These things take a huge amount of time and energy and thought and attention. And we get into these moments when we feel most out of balance. Oftentimes, we are feeling the tension of having too many number one priorities
Mm-hmm.
and the fear to choose one and let all the rest follow behind. So there is a lot of freedom and balance and presence that is a choice and a mindset. But you have to unplug yourself from the systems who say it's different, right? Like team famously knows, I don't do notifications. My phone is silent so much so my husband's like, did you see that I called? And I'm like, oh, so sorry. I was being present somewhere else. Now I can be present with you. Let's go. What do you need? What's going on? Right? It is some choices that are very counterintuitive. So I love that definition of presence, because that definition of presence really is the key to finding balance. It is also the key to finding freedom. And it tends to wash away the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sitting at your child's soccer game and worried about the 4 emails you hadn't sent off, and then when you're at work, you're worried about the fact that you're going to run late to the soccer game in the first place, and you're constantly battling a lot of guilt. Whereas if we could just shed that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
we might be able to make some different choices and be present in a way that's much more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
I know,
yeah.
deep concept right off the bat.
No, I love that. I'm thinking I've done over 200 interviews at this point. I don't think anybody has succinctly put it in that way. So I really love that story. And it is true. We can't serve all of the things all of the time, all at once. And that's what we want to do so we don't have to make a decision. And yeah, and I mean, what I hear you saying is making priorities, figuring out what in that moment is your priority, and letting everything else just be okay until it's time to focus on that next priority.
We just got back from vacation, I shared with you, and we were there with some friends and they were doing work, and one of our friends looked at me and they're like, oh, you're working too, aren't you? And I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, no, I'm on vacation. Are you kidding me? I earned this puppy. No work. And they just kind of looked at me. I was like, look, at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a really long time. We're going on 18, 19 years, and there's always more to do. My to-do list never disappears per se. Now, I
Mhm.
also don't operate on to-do lists, but I could one more thing myself to death and I'm the queen of it. But at some point in time, I have to say it's enough.
Mhm.
And the only person that can say that is me as a human and me as the owner, I'll tell even my team, like, it's enough. Go, leave, be on vacation. Stop checking your email, right? I need you to have a break so that you can come back refreshed. So just some things to think about.
No, I think they're very simple but powerful things that we can think about to really make some dramatic changes in how we feel about our business and our family time, which is usually the two things that we're juggling the most. Forget about us. We don't even take care of ourselves. Forget about that.
No, 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 no. Add that back in. Add
Right?
that back in.
Exactly.
Maybe
Exactly.
it looks different today than it did, when you first graduated college, and it
Right?
will look different when the kids are off to college. But don't ignore yourself, because you are the only
Yeah.
resource you can't renew, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, I
So
like to say that when we can juggle a couple of balls, then we can add some more and like see how don't try to juggle all the balls at once. Let's just work on a
yeah.
couple.
Are you kidding me? Some
So,
days I do well to do one.
right? Yeah, some days that was me yesterday. Well, let's talk about your book, First This, Then That, for a moment.
Mm.
And in that book, you talk about the right foundations for your business, right? And that is so important. I completely agree with you. So, can you talk about some of the missteps that you can see founders make that if they made some tweaks, it would really help them, make a course correction and have more of that harmony that you talked about?
Yeah, let's start with one we've already kind of started with. I will say it is a mindset shift, and it is one that affects you mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I don't care. It just has a really big impact. And is birthed from the hustle and grind, which basically says you have to work hard enough for it. Now, what is it? Is it freedom? Is it money? Is it profit? Is it the ability to pay yourself? Is it the ability to hire? Is it the ability to take a vacation? Like, honestly, I would challenge anybody listening today, right now, write the word reward down and then list all the things that you hope your business will reward you with: time, freedom, money, choice. I mean, doing this a really long time, I can tell you the 9 ones that would be there, but there's some of those categories. And ask yourself, once you've got that list, what A would happen if you actually had it all today? What B would you have to change in order to make it possible to have all today?
Hmm.
Right? And C, what are you doing that actively keeps it at? Because entrepreneurship is this, we're self-reliant, we're independent, we're going to do it all ourselves. Well, guess what? No one's going to give you a gold star at the end of the day for doing it all yourself. Absolutely nobody here is going to do that. But we set these goals for ourselves and their finish lines, and we see them in the horizon, and we race, 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 race towards them. And as soon as we get close, and as soon as we get to the finish line, knowing the reward is on the other side, we say, well, it was too easy. Well, I could have done it better. Well, it didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to happen. And we move the finish line. We never allow ourselves to cross it and have the reward. So we are constantly, you've heard the stick or the carrot is, are you using the reward as a stick or a carrot? We start off as a carrot, but then we bash ourselves over the head with the stick, and it's all self-inflicted. It is crazy. Now, granted, sometimes there's outside forces inflicting it as well, but 9 times out of 10, there's so much more that you could allow for yourself today. And maybe it's not the creme de la creme, but maybe it's good enough. Maybe it's enough for you to develop a desire for more,
Mhm.
right? We never allow ourselves to. So that reward shows up, that whole kind of reward system that we have in the hustle and grind, and we got to work hard enough until we earn it type of business keeps so much success at bay. And one of the biggest places it does it in the beginning is money,
Mhm.
because we never expect the businesses to be profitable at its smallest level. We
Hmm.
only expect profits at this biggest level. And isn't it funny? Because now it's a reward, right? If you have to work at it and be big enough and do these things.
Hmm.
I mean, we're chasing it the whole time because we
Hmm.
keep pushing it further and further and further and further
Hmm.
versus saying, oh no, it's like my kids. Oh no, baby doll. We put the trash in the trash can. This is this is the expectation. The toilet is not a trash can. Let me reiterate that. We did have to have that conversation with one boy. We're like, toilet, not a trash can. After the $300 plumber bill. So there's just some non-negotiables, right? That you're like, no, we eat dinner at the table. No, we don't behave like that, or we don't talk like that in our families, but we don't always put that same kind of, if you think, expectation on the business to perform well, to perform like a contributing member of society. And honestly, that when you don't do that in your business, A, you're chasing your rewards, but you also wind up with a 3-year-old that throws bad temper tantrums even though I'm a good mom. Why do you do this here? Kind of a thing. So it's some things to think about, right? And
Hmm.
especially in the foundational standpoint, I do think we have to be really honest, but give some responsibility to the business early on to allow us to experience the benefits of owning a business sooner rather than later.
Mm. Yeah, I think that that is another powerful way to think about it. And it's so true. We're always thinking like it's got to be this large business with a team, and then that's when we'll be quote unquote happy or feel successful or earn what we want. And I think it's also deeply connected with this sense of like the more I work and the harder I work, the more profitable I will be, kind of thing, which you really have to unlearn that.
For sure.
Yeah. And what I think I hear you saying too is defining your enough point.
Mm,
Like, what is enough for you? Are you just going to keep chasing and chasing and chasing? Whatever it is, if your goal is to earn the money to cover your mortgage and, money to take a vacation without feeling guilty and kids camp or something like that, then I think it's really important to define that for yourself so you're not constantly chasing that carrot. So that's, something to really think about too. So we're on the topic of scaling but oftentimes with scaling a business is also this concept of like, I have to do it all, especially as a mom, where we often have the load of the home tasks delegated to us, whether, despite progress in the world, you know, and we consistently kind of have this idea, most women, that nobody can do it like we can. We have that perfectionism and all of that stuff. So talk to us about how we can start shifting our mindset to learn how to trust a team or find other solutions to not doing it all.
yeah. I think I will say, I joke, I'm in the game or the stage of my life when I try to see how little I can do, not how much I can do. Like, I'm just like, I'm so over that. So you brought up a good point of defining what it is and why you need it. That's that vision, the alignment. And I love the examples that you gave. Those are real concrete examples. Camp for summer kids is no
Mhm.
joke.
Oh yeah.
People people don't understand. You lose the affordable child care credit thing, and then you got camp. You're like, oh, this is just
Right.
not
Or,
nice.
kids in like after school activities, if they're like my daughters were really into dance, one still
Yeah.
is, and it's incredibly expensive.
Yes.
So you don't want to say no to nurturing their talent.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I started one of my business was to supplement that.
It's in that knowing, right? That you can bring things into alignment. And I'll say
Mhm.
there are a lot of people out there. I've heard people talk about it. I've had clients call me and go, they're telling me I don't have a real business. And I'm like, you have a real business for you. It is not their definition of a business. It is
Yeah.
your definition of a business. If you sell something and you receive monies in return, guess what? That's a commercial enterprise. The IRS still wants taxes. You have a business. Like the IRS isn't
Yeah,
worried
try
about it.
telling that to the IRS.
Yeah, really. Well, so Joe said I don't have a real business. So yeah, right. That won't go over well. So I do think you need to have that clarity that you can build alignment to, and then knowing what that will be. But you as a resource are finite. There's only so many hours in your day. There's only so much energy. There's only so much you can do. And so what I will say is when you're looking at, do I do this myself? Or do I build teams? Or do I find this little in the middle? I'll tell you, for a long time, team didn't seem to be where I wanted to be. I needed other people that did not need me to manage them or teach them, because I was also in a stage of my life where I was caring for two kids in middle school and being responsive to my in-laws and all those things. I even had CEO mom days. I could not book anything work on my CEO mom days because of the doctor's appointments and the da 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 and all the things, right? So really think about your time in that way as well. And if you only have 20 hours a week to invest in your business and be in your business, then you need to build a business that can meet your money needs on those 20 hours, right? And I think just start working and hope that it will all work out in the end, and we forget to do the math because, hey, not a lot of people like to do the math. I get it. But we have this nifty thing that's almost glued to our hand called a cell phone, a smartphone. It's got a calculator on it. Even the most basic of smartphones do. We can figure out the math. And then you can start asking yourself, is this worth my time? Will this yield what I need to be able to do it? But I will truly say, I know there's a quest to be the $1 million one person business. And I do think there are some business models where that is possible-ish.
Mhm.
However, you will not scale without people.
Mhm.
And I've yet to see businesses successfully try. You can work hard and you'll be working your 80-hour work weeks. You're still going to cap. And Angela, I kid you not. I mean, we see it day in, day out. I'm like, is it going to be 250,000, 350,000, or 450,000? It just depends on the business model, but it's always there. And you may say, hey, that sounds like a lot of money. I like that idea. I'm like, that's fine, but you don't have any time to spend it. Chances are, if you're still stuck in that model, you probably don't have it all in the bank account either, right? It sounds really great at the top line, but that's why profitability is so crucial to be able to do it. I went through I will say my first business, this is actually my second. I had team. I did not do well. At the end of it, I don't know if I imploded my team or they imploded themselves or I simply allowed it. I really don't know at that point in time, but I was so burned out and tired and stressed. I didn't have the mental capacity to be able to handle it. And for a long time in this second business, I did not choose team. It wasn't until I chose team and made it a priority and redefined what team was in our business that we saw scalable growth. And we have seen scalable growth. My growth is only purely limited by my ability to hire and my readiness for the next one, right? So I do think if super big goals is really in your standpoint, you need to be thinking about how does this extend past you? Because at the end of the day, I have one person that would say the definition of a business should be a successful commercial enterprise, hence the exchange of money, right? We talked about that can work without you.
Potentially, or at least you have time to take breaks when you need to.
It's
Because I
all
know
about what
some
you want.
solopreneurs who can kind of run without them, but they still
Yes.
take time off when they need to, and they're like, that's it. But yeah, I mean, largely I agree with that. Yeah, that should be the goal. You want it to be able to run without you. And so we've been talking about, profitability
Yep.
and success, but that isn't always about money, right? It's like we want to live a holistically rich life. And so, what do you think that looks like? Or what is that evolution that you've seen your clients have where they've gone from low profitability and they find more freedom and more profitability, what does that look like for them?
So it's success and freedom are very individual interpretations. So there's no one right or wrong. To your point, taking time off, what does that mean to you? Is that 2 weeks of vacation? Is it a day of vacation? Is it 13 weeks of vacation? What is it to you,
Yep.
right? Knowing that matters. But having the more time you want off means the less the work needs to be imparted upon you, or you cost the business to take the time off. And if that's part of the plan too, all more power to you. We can do that as well. But I do think that there is some level of freedom that has a investment, and profits fund investments, right? And so it's being super clear on what those aspects are that make your heart sing. So one of the exercises we'll talk about with our clients, especially when we're looking at like, what can we get off your plate? I ask that you have 2 buckets. I'm going to have you sort. It's a basic sorting exercise, right? And it's really easy to do, don't delegate. But it's another thing to really understand, this is my energy vampire that sucks my soul dry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what feeds my soul. Because sometimes we have to hold on to things that feed our soul for just a little bit longer
Mm-hmm.
because we need a balance to the work effort that's having to get to, or the ability to get the energy vampires off my plate. I will tell you, there are lots of things that I'm like, as I had a client start the morning, he goes, I don't wanna. And I was like, yeah, I've been there. But let's shoot for 50 minutes of we did. 50 minutes of we did. He's like, I don't wanna. But we all have those things we don't want to do, right? So the balance and coming back into even holistic and balance is about balancing your energy levels as well. And if you are in a place to where you feel like you're in your zone, what you do feeds your soul, you're having impact and legacy, which honestly, after you get to, I'll come back to that. I'm just going to put a pin in that and I'll come back to that. But once we know that you're fed by what you do, then the work of doing what you need to do has a lighter weight. Usually it's the heaviness that brings us down and starts burning out and overwhelm and indecision and all that stuff. And then it's vicious little spiral. What I was going to add in is impact and legacy. Because you asked this question, like once they get more freedom or once they get more profit, what is it that they find success in? And it's universally about impact and legacy. But in order for that to happen, in order for us to even think about taking care of others more than we already do, we have to get safety and security for the business owner. And then we have to get trust. So once safety, which is money, security, I can do this. Trust is, not only can I do this, but I've done this and I expect it to continue. Do you ever start to look outside of your bubble? Now, your bubble can be your family unit. It can be all those things. You can cover your mortgage, cover your camps for summer, whatever that is. You've got to satisfy that need in order for you to extend. And once you extend past your bubble, your family unit, into impact and legacy, and I define it as two different things. Impact is about creating positive change for others in the world, either through your work, through your team, through your charitable contributions, however you choose to do that. Positive change. Legacy is about making it last, making it repeatable, making it something that goes beyond 10 people to 100 people to 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
That is what happens when people feel like in their bubble, they're safe, they're secure, they trust it, they're good. And now they can actually think about doing something more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the other things that I think that you have some expertise in is helping people see how sellable their business is, right?
Yeah, we work with a lot of clients to get them ready for selling. Now that
Mm-hmm.
may be 5 or 10 years down the road. Sometimes people come in with a much shorter time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I'll just give everyone the free advice. It takes 3 to 5 years. Don't wait that long, because when you get to work on it sooner rather than later, your
Mm-hmm.
business also pays you more and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes worth more. But yes, it is a journey that we help people with.
Yeah, and I think that that's so smart to strategize that towards the beginning of your business or even think that that's a possibility. I talk to so many people who don't even think that far ahead or think that that's possible. But
Yeah.
what you're creating has value potentially. And the more that you curate it for selling, possibly in the future, the more valuable it can be, right?
Everything we've just talked about in
Yeah.
our conversation so far today, all necessary to create a sellable business. Now,
Mhm.
listen, you can sell it. Selling happens in a lot of different ways, but I will say that most small businesses underestimate their saleability. And we do have cycles, but a lot of times people are looking for those under $1 million businesses, right? They're looking for cash flow vehicles. They're looking for different things. So don't take yourself out of the running. But if you do start doing those things, like we said, even ensuring that the work doesn't revolve around you. If you are the work, your business will not be saleable. Nobody wants a job. They want a return on investment, which is profits. Outside of the company, it's profits. It's what people are looking for. But just think about those things as you're building. And that's why team comes along and is so important, while having a plan is so important. But you need 3 good solid years of business financials to before you go to the marketplace. Otherwise, you're only devaluing your business.
Mm. I love that advice. And like I said, I think it's so important to think about that end in mind if that might be a possibility for you. So you're building like an asset. You're putting more value in your business. So I love that. Well, we're coming up a little against time.
Yeah.
And with all of your experience and all of the wisdom you've shared with us today, if you could have whispered into the ear of yourself starting out your business, knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
what would that be?
I'll just give you what I ask myself. If money were no object, what would you do?
Hmm.
And my answer is yes, I go ahead and do it. I step through the fear of the money and I just go do it. Because what I've learned is, I think even Mark Cuban said this. He goes, I can always make more money. I can always open another business. I can always have that opportunity, right? In his world, he's like, but I can never get my family again.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always think of those things, but I'm always asking myself, if money were no object, what would I do? I'm like, oh, I'd hire that person. Great, great. I guess when can I hire them? When is that going to be? Because we believe in acting and integrity. But I do think you should ask yourself that. And if it's not money, if money's not the thing, then what is the thing? If time were no object, what would you do? If skill was not an obstacle, what would you do? Right? Because usually we're trying to protect ourselves at that moment. And that's what I see keeps businesses from being innovative, from making that next leap, from getting all the money that's just sitting at the doorstep. And believe me, a lot of people don't open the door to allow it in. I'm like, I don't know if you noticed, but you got a couple thousand, 100,000 out here knocking on your door. Did you know that? Because I mean, I'll bring it in if you want me to. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, watch, ding. And they're like, how did you do that? It's like, oh, you were too worried. You didn't open up the door. Just open up the door. It's not a stranger, I promise. It's somebody you've invited to the party.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. People often start a business to be profitable and have the potential to make that money, but when you actually talk about it being a reality, they sometimes are like, well, or you start to realize that they're not really sure that that's for them. And so I think that that's a really interesting way to begin to have your clients think about. It's right there if you want it, if you want to invite it to the party.
You have invited it to the party. It's just I think you haven't decided if you want to allow it to come in or not. I think by the time you open up your business, guess what? You're inviting a lot to the party.
All right, that's
You
true.
gotta, you just may not have thought it was a clown.
Right. Yep.
We all have that story. Don't
Mhm.
even have to go into that, right? We all have that story. You're like, I didn't order a clown. How did you show up? Didn't even know you were a clown until you got it. I'm so confused.
Yes, I love that so much. So, where can listeners connect with you, be in your orbit, and learn more about all that you're doing?
So we are obviously out there in the internet sphere, but we have a special link just for your listeners. And so that'll be at yourbizrules.com/good enough. And there you'll find a few free goodies. Also, if you're interested in our books, we've got some links there. And if it's the right time to talk to us, if you're looking for somebody that can help grow and scale your business, there's a way to reach out and see if we can help.
I love it. Thank you so much for all of your insight and your experience you've shared and your practical stories that really kind of hit home and help us understand some concepts that shift how we think about things.
I'm glad to be of service. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. It was a pleasure.